Who's calling from the phone number ending 9371? Okay, the live stream's up and running.
Okay, thank you. Did you get a response from the phone call in who that is, Krista?
No, and they just dropped out of the meeting.
Okay. Okay, being 6:30, I will call the facilities meeting to order. At this time, we'll do a roll call. I see all members present except Ron Score, and perhaps he's trying to call in. We'll have to wait and see. And also other notable guests. Okay, first thing would be the approval of the minutes from the February 24th meeting. You were all sent a copy of the minutes. Any discussion, or what are your wishes for the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, a motion's been made by Don to approve.
I'll second.
Mike seconded. A motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion or corrections? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's carried. The minutes are approved. Okay. Next on here is public comment. Krista, did you have any public comment?
There was no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Next one, item E, items placed at the request of the chair, the status of the facilities office relocation. Scott, where are we at on that?
Still waiting for Excel to run the gas line to restore gas service to the house. And we can move anytime after that. If the temperatures get warm enough, we can move our offices over prior to the gas being in there. And then we were working with Patty Isaacson on the records for swapping our office and storage space with record storage building. I have a meeting with Patty beginning of August here. Once she gets her records all ready for destruction and gets those out of there, then we should be able to go ahead and start swapping areas and get our move done with.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next thing, item B under that is a resolution to be carbon free by the year 2050. And I would like to thank Tim and Mike for your input that you put in. I find it very valuable. This is what I had intended when we first started this. Don had supplied the first one originally there, and then now we're working off from that. And this is what I was hoping for. We would get some discussion, some more ideas. I'm going to ask Tim first if there's anything, any additions or corrections you want to add to yours that you had submitted. You know, once you, at least I know with me, whenever I submit something, then I look back and go, oh, I should have said this and I should have said that. So are there any updates that you'd like to add to yours, Tim?
Well, that's a good question, Chuck. I guess I haven't had a whole lot of time to reflect on that.
Okay.
But I believe that anything we do is a working document. So there's anything is subject to be removed or additions can be added to it. I believe it should be a living document.
Okay, very good. Okay, so then we'll come to Mike. Mike, on your statement that you sent out here, as far as the, I guess I do have enough questions, or I have a couple of questions for you to, if you could elaborate on. When the one thing is you make reference to not enough neutral goals and visions, what's your definition of a neutral goal or vision?
Well, I think that what my objective would be was to make this more of a resolution that invites everyone to get on board. I believe renewable energy is something that isn't a party issue. I think that everyone can be on board with it. So I try to veer away from a lot of the tone of a political agenda that when I read it, it sounds to me more like there's a lot of a political agenda, global warming, climate change, a lot of those issues. And for me, this isn't an issue about fixing global warming. This is an issue about the county incorporating renewable energy into the county facilities. Lowering the carbon footprint for me goes right along with the common sense of what renewable energy can do for us. So I guess the talking points that cause conflict or create more political adversaries to begin to argue about it kind of turns me off. I guess that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make with it. I want to support it. I don't have the same political beliefs that a lot of other people do, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of people on the conservative side of the aisle that also support these issues.
Okay. Okay, the phone call that ends in 9371, would you identify yourself, please?
This is Ron.
Oh, hi, Ron. Okay, glad you could make it. Yeah, Ron.
I'm getting my computer set up at a different password I gotta deal with. I'll be on my computer shortly.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So, okay. Then also, I had the opportunity to join in on the sustainability meeting that was held on the 17th with the city and Dunn and some other people. And I found it very interesting because one of the comments that they made was they being the city has done a study as far as how much of that is actually governmental when they talk carbon footprint. And there's really very little that is governmental compared to what the private sector and stuff is. And so I realize that there's a lot of people out there saying, well, you can't be carbon free by 2020 or 2050, I'm sorry. And you never say never. I do understand that it will be challenging as far as being carbon free from a governmental standpoint, as far as with the sheriff's fleet and electric cars or whatever type of cars you have. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't at least have a goal and work towards it and do what we can. So it was interesting to listen to what the city had to say. I thought it was, very informative. And I thank Don for inviting me to that meeting. But I agree with Mike in the one sense of not making it a political, because it's everybody's ball game here. But to me, the hard part is, how do you use terminology and not make it political? Like even the terminology, the Paris Agreement or climate change, or there's certain words that people read that and right away then you must be on this side of the fence, or you must be on this side of the fence. So how do we dictate that we want to be non-political, because it does make common sense. So I guess I'm looking for input as far as what the committee thinks are words, and this will be an ongoing thing, and that you don't think about this for the next meeting, because I like the input we've gotten so far, so we can work off from this a little bit, actually quite a bit. And as far as is trying to get it as neutral as possible and still get the point across. We want renewable energies. At this point in time, renewable energies are, a little more expensive than what the carbon-based fuel, but with technology and with changes in the future, there's no doubt they're going to come down. So I guess I'm looking for ideas as to how to make this not a political statement, because I agree with Mike. There are certain words that they trigger the impulse right away when our society has gotten so used to you're either one side or the other. I mean, nobody wants to talk anymore. Nobody wants to compromise. Nobody wants it's either this way or the highway. And I am looking forward for a document that would be more neutral. I mean, we have the common goal is renewable energies. And how are we going to get there? And as far as what terminology can we use that isn't going to just, because we all know through life's experiences, there are certain words that when you hear them, they trigger up our mental defenses, and then we stop listening to what the other person has to say. So I like what I got. I really appreciate what Tim put together. I appreciate what Mike put together. I appreciate Don, what he had first submitted. And I would like to see if we could maybe work together and here again, between all three of them, come up with something that is neutral yet will accomplish our goals. Don, do you have any input? Yeah, Don.
Yeah, I think we got a good start. I'm kind of enthused. As far as the political thing, well, I once read an article from a columnist when I was reading the Des Moines Register, and he kind of said, well, if you don't want to be political, you can't get out of bed in the morning, which there's some truth to that. But anyway, I think what Tim submitted, he eliminated a couple of paragraphs that I guess you could call political, and that's fine with me. I think we're got a good start, and I'm happy to work with anybody that wants to, and so we can get this thing done.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments at this time? Tim, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Mike. I believe Mike and Chuck. And I guess one of the first things that I changed, I don't know if you noticed that or not, is it's not a recommendation to be carbon free. Because I had said this originally in one of the discussions, is that we're not a net generator of electricity. So if we're not generating electricity, it makes it more difficult for us to be carbon free, so to speak. So one of the first things I changed, if you look at that, is to be carbon neutral. And I think carbon neutral means that we could be, because we are a user of electricity, we can do things such as the things that I outlined in my other note that I sent to Chuck and Paul about things that we can put on our planning to get there. Upgraded insulation, upgraded windows, and I think I put geothermal in the wrong category because that's not a generation of electricity. That's something that we can do to help reduce electric consumption. So those are the things that I think we can do to get to carbon neutral. Ron mentioned planting trees. Great idea, because if you plant them in the right spots, the leaf foliage will cool the buildings in the summertime. And when those leaves drop off in the wintertime, it will allow the sun to connect, to touch those buildings to help. So that's kind of one of the first things that I wanted to try and do, is to say, okay, carbon free means, to me, more generating. Carbon neutral means that we're doing things to neutralize our use of carbon. Now, as far as the Paris Climate Agreement, I kind of agree with Mike that that gets to be more political, and I won't go any further with that. So I did want to strike that, and I tried to come up with things that I thought weren't political, being scientific in the first part of that. And there is general agreement between, government, businesses, and military, and all these other places. So I kind of wanted to stress from that side of it rather than a political side. I did look at the carbon agreement that was sent out earlier too, and I tried to incorporate some of those items in there also.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I guess, like I say, I appreciate the efforts that everybody has done here, and I agree with Don. I think we're off to a great start. And so so let's, for the next meeting, let's see if we can come back and feel free to share your thoughts in between this meeting and the next meeting as to potential agreement on everything here. And it is a work in progress. And I think we're off to a great start. So that's where I'll leave it for now, unless anybody else has any other comments. Okay.
The only other comment I'd like to make is I don't know how Mike and Don were able to use Microsoft Word, because apparently I didn't think I had a license for it. Therefore, my formatting is kind of all over the board. And I didn't have spell check.
Oh, well, I thought maybe all the rest of us have been spelling these words wrong. I didn't know. But no, hey, the main, it was the thought that counts. And I appreciate your effort that you put into it. Thank you. So,
Yeah.
okay. Next thing, staff and recreation reports. Fair and Fair Board. Deb?
Good evening, everybody. You received my report that I did email, or was emailed with the packet that went out to all of you. I don't have a lot of other things to add to that, other than we are working on the bottom part. When I talk about the third bullet, we've had one meeting discussing the future of the fair and reducing expenses, increasing income, and everybody went home and is thinking about more things we can add and look at that. I'm considering it like basically mini strategic planning session. We will be meeting again next week to have further discussions on that. Right now, we're still planning on moving ahead with the fair. Have been gathering ideas and writing a plan on how we're going to do that. I've visited with the carnival a couple times on how they're going to keep their rides clean and what they plan on doing to, keep everybody safe. And the same with the vendors. As we start getting vendors in, we've had quite a few people interested in coming, and food vendors are like crazy. We're getting requests like you wouldn't believe from food vendors to come to the fair and bring their wagons and so forth. But in typical fashion, we limit the number that we have there, just because nobody makes money if we get too many in, and if we have too many of the same product. So it's kind of right now we have a waiting list of people in case somebody doesn't return from last year. I guess I would entertain if anybody has any questions or anything additional.
I know it's early, and you probably, maybe the carnival don't have an answer yet, but how are they going to provide safe rides? I mean, what do they actually have a plan as to, are they going to wipe down the seats every so often, or what in general terms?
Yeah, they're planning on, in fact, they're even looking at investing in one of those one of those aerostatic sprayers or whatever that they can use on rides. Menominee Youth Hockey also invested in one of those to clean the grandstand, or to clean the bleachers inside the building when they were having games. I've talked to them even to borrow that one that we could use in the grandstand to go through there if we need to clean. My biggest hurdle is how many people we can put in the grandstand right now, because I need a full grandstand in order to make it worthwhile and to keep everybody safe. And do that. But yes, they're planning on wiping down rides. Depending on where the numbers are and what any recommendations and orders are, they said that their workers would wear masks. They would wear gloves if we felt that they needed to wear gloves. Have hand sanitizer stations. They've invested in some. They've had a few in there, like where they had their like food wagons, but they never really had them by the rides. They've invested in more hand sanitizing stations. And right now that's where we're at in our discussion. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mike, question?
So as we're hearing about vaccines and the likelihood of most people having access to vaccines by May, does that allow us to open up more once people have been vaccinated? How does that affect the fair going ahead?
I'm hoping, KT and I have been having, I've reached out to her and once, and we had a brief discussion about it, and then we were going to wait until April and see how things were moving at that point. I get the updates just like you do from Paul, and I've been watching those really close and watching the numbers also that the health department puts out, and I'm like a little disappointed the one that came out today where the few cases were more. Maybe that is attributed to spring break. I don't know, but I'm hoping that with the number of people vaccinated and if we can spread like the food vendors out, and if we can spray paint on the ground and make marks for like the food, lines and so forth, and we can spread the aisles out in the building. For the auction, we plan on not using bleachers this year. We're talking about renting chairs or getting chairs brought in so that we can spread those out furthermore, and we won't have a bunch of people grouped together on a bleacher for the auction, animal auction. Those are all the types of things that we're looking at trying to do to keep it all safe and to be allowed to open. So.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
I guess if nobody else has, Mike, I thank you for that question, but I guess, does anybody on the committee have any concerns about whether or not we should proceed with a full fair? It was kind of interesting. We just did our Talk It Out on Tuesday for the state, and 75% of the fairs that were on the call, which was 42 of the county fairs that were on the call on Tuesday, 75% plan on moving right now as of Tuesday. We're planning on moving ahead with a full fair, and then the rest were down a little bit. I was 75, or I would put down that I was between 50 and 75%. I didn't want to stick my neck out that we're 100% sure we're going to have one, but I'm hoping for 100. But I guess I would entertain any comments from the committee.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I was just wondering if another surge does come with these variants and things, when would be the last date that you could go back to what you did last year?
I guess we would, in order to give the opportunity for vendors, I would like to, by the 1st of June, I guess, would be a date that I would be work towards. Last year, I know we did the discussions and had the discussions in May. Even middle of June, we probably could. I've already, all of my contracts for entertainers and food, or entertainers and different things, they all know, it's all dependent on what numbers are and where it's at as far as canceling or moving or going to a modified fair. We've all had those discussions, or I've had those discussions with them all. And I've kind of told them the June, between June 1st and June 15th as a date. So.
I guess the only real problematic would be the 100% in the grandstand. That might be difficult to achieve.
Yep. That's my concern too, Don.
Yep.
So if I understand you right, Deb, as far as for the grandstand entertainment, the 15th of June would be the latest, or you would have to know by then. Because I'm thinking a lot of it will depend now with racing. We'll see what the number, once the racing and the charts and stuff and we'll see how that goes, obviously. So I think a lot of what will happen in the future that will kind of be the telling story as to where things go. Obviously, we would like to see a full fair. I mean, but the numbers will tell the story.
Yep, exactly. And I agree 100%. I'm anxiously awaiting to see what happens with racing and to see if anything happens with their plan. We can, for like the Saturday night, which obviously is our biggest event that we have, we can put more seating on the infield along the fence or along the barriers there, to eliminate, and have less seating in the grandstand itself. But again, we have to spread those people out in that area too. So, but we can use, use more seating there
Okay.
to spread them out.
Okay. Any other questions for Deb? Yeah, Mike?
I guess at some point, don't we reach the position where everyone that wants to be vaccinated has been vaccinated, and everyone that chooses to involve themselves in group activities have done so at their own risk without risking the health of those who could be vulnerable, that you're not taking it home to your grandparents like was the issue before. I guess I'm just curious, at what point do we stop worrying about the people that chose not to vaccinate themselves or in that situation? I mean, at some point we have to move on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess my response would be the numbers, the testing numbers would give that result, because if there are still, a certain percentage of people who have not been vaccinated or whatever, and we still have the numbers coming in, whatever they are, I mean, that will be to me, the telltale sign is the testing results and how many new cases we have or from there. I mean, no doubt at some time we'll have to say, okay, this is good enough or whatever, but unless somebody else has a better answer, I guess it would just go back to the testing and the numbers that we get in on the weekly reports. Because once we do get to herd immunity, and I don't know when that time, nobody can say when that time will be. It'll be just through the testing results, in my opinion, unless somebody has any other ideas or any different ideas. That's how I see it. So, Dave.
Just a question for Deb. So you're going to plan on having a regular fair, full fair, and you're going to write your contracts so that you'll have up to the 15th of June to cancel. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yes. As you remember, most of our contracts were just rolled over from 2020 to 2021. So we have contracts in place. But I've had conversations with excuse me, the NTPA. Mark and I are talking about racing. Of course, we'll follow those parameters because that is a race event that's on Thursday night. Wednesday night, we typically don't do anything in the grandstand. So it would be just on Sunday with the demo derby, and the folks that run my demo derby for me aren't real sure if they're going to do it this year. So I'm not real sure, but on that one. So the main one that I'm really concerned about is the NTPA on Saturday. And that one, they know that I've told them between June 1st and June 15th would be my drop dead date, somewhere in there.
Okay, and they're okay with that, or everybody is okay with that date. So,
yeah,
okay.
And like our other vendors,
it sounds like a very good plan.
Yeah. Yep. I just want to be upfront with them and let them know, that it's just because COVID is now under, people are getting vaccinated and people are trying to return to normal. There's always a chance that it might not happen. And I didn't want to spring something on them in the, 1st of June and say, well, we're going to a modified fair and the grandstand's canceled or whatever. So I just feel that we needed to have those conversations ahead of time with our vendors.
Okay. Tim, you had a question?
No, I didn't have a question, but I'll kind of chime in based off of what I've
Oh.
heard, I can tell you this is, I am all in favor of moving forward with this. My big concern is the one that's been brought up, is that's 100% participation in the grandstands for the events. Talk was about herd immunity before too, and I think, what is it, 75 or 80% of the population either has to have an immunity to it or have the vaccine. It's not 100% of the population, but I'm thinking the number is between 70 and 80%. 74 is what I think I heard. If 74% of the people have had a combination of the vaccine and or the virus, then you reach more of the herd immunity standpoint. I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on those numbers, but with now, I believe that the most at risk, and I think that the new thing that I heard is anybody who is 16 or over that has underlying conditions is eligible for the vaccine. So I think that's going to take a big chunk out of the people that are most affected by the virus. So as we start getting more and more of those people vaccinated, I think the comfort level to having potentially 100% grandstand participation will come down a little bit. So just my thoughts.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Deb? Okay. If not, thanks, Deb. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. B, Facilities and Parks Division's operations.
Okay, you guys got the report that I submitted with the packet. And as far as other things that have been going on, is just usual day-to-day stuff with work orders and little projects here and there of what people need done. Everybody's been busy keeping going on things. There's been some work done outside now that the weather's getting nicer, pulling the stakes and stuff from the grounds, from the parking lots. Very happy to see that with the crew that we have now, especially at the government center. If you see out there, there's a lot less lawn that has been torn up this year. It's going to be a lot less work getting everything greened up and looking a lot better. These guys take a lot of care when they do the snow plowing. They're not out there running the plow across our lawn and you wait till middle of the summer to get grass growing back up in there. So it's very, very happy with the performance of the crew that I have right now as far as that goes. And it also helped with having the snow pusher that we purchased for the large tractor that we have. The guys could plow it to the ends of the pavement and then use the big pusher and push it back further and not scrape up the ground. So it really helps to have the equipment to do that with. Other than that, operations are going pretty normal. We gone to projects. I guess I can put out there. I was working with John McLaughlin and we got the invitation for bids out there for the Judicial Center roof. Tomorrow we have a walkthrough on that with, I believe there's 4 roofing companies that'll be coming to take a look at the roof, and they'll ask any questions, and then they can get their questions. If they have any more, they can get questions to me by the 30th, and then I get questions answered back to them by the 2nd of April, and the bids will be due April 8th. So going forward on the roofing project over there, which is good timing. We had this morning, one of the gals in the district attorney's office walked into her office and water had leaked through the ceiling. One of the ceiling tiles saturated and fell down on her desk. It ruined some paperwork, so she ended up having to redo paperwork. So she was pretty frustrated with that. I went and talked with her and we came up with a solution to try and solve that so that won't happen until we get the roof done. The guys will go up on the roof and see if they can patch up that area once it dries out more here. But the guys got some of the shallow totes like you would have that you'd slide underneath the bed or something like that. Put those up above the ceiling grid in areas where there could be potential for a leak, just to try and contain that from coming down on an office workspace. Andrea Nodolf, I talked to her and she had a concern if water came down on a laptop, that they get those from the state and it takes quite a while. So that would be critical to them. And then like any copiers or of course any paperwork, paper files, if they got wet and damaged, it would be pretty critical to their operations. So we're trying to keep things from getting wet until we get that roof taken care of fully.
Was this a area that of a repeat leak, like had it leaked there before?
It had leaked there once before. She had a ceiling tile come down once before. So the guys know where to look for that, and if we can have that plastic tub up there to contain some of that water instead of coming down on the desk, that would help a lot. Right.
I'm just wondering if maybe, and not having seen what it looks like up there, if it would be better just to have a bigger tarp, and kind of funnel the water away. Or what? I mean, I'm sure you know what you're up against, but
that's one of the things I'm considering too. Is that once it does stop raining here and they get up and take a look at it, if that is something that we would have to do, is try and stretch out something for a tarp in that area, so that the water went off of the tarp and it didn't come to that area right there to leak through. So that's something we'll take a look at, and we'll do what we can to keep it from happening again, especially in that area.
Yeah. And I was really excited to see about the donation made for the shooting range out there that you had included in your report. That was exciting. I was got the information from Duke Holmberg, and he was pretty excited about that. They come, the father and son from Eau Claire come out to the range 2 to 3 times a week. They made this donation for getting the chronograph out there. If any of you guys don't know, the chronograph measures the speed of the bullet. They use that for their ballistic information, and they're pretty excited about getting that out there. And then Duke also sent over another report here that I will I'll scan it and I'll send it in to you guys because I just got it. But it's for 2020 for the whole year. They have whether it's how many members came out to the range, how many people they've got documented, all that stuff. They've got what they've done out at the range, everything in this report. So you can really see what they do out there. They're getting compliments all the time. So they're really doing good. I really appreciate those guys. And I know you guys all appreciate them putting in their time and volunteering and taking care of that range. It brings a lot of people into Dunn County and into the city of Menominee. So I'll send that report to you guys here. I'll get it scanned and send it over tomorrow so all of you can read through it. Okay, thank you. Don.
What? Scott, I was wondering, with this roof, are you considering a white roof as one option?
Well, I talked with one of the roofers about a white roof, and his take on it was that a white roof in our area doesn't pay because we don't have all of the heating days, you know, the cooling, I should say the cooling days where a white roof would be beneficial. In our area, he felt that we don't have the cooling days like they would further south. So my intent is to ask about that tomorrow when I'm meeting with these roofing companies, ask their take on it and see what they have to say, get their professional opinion as far as that.
Okay, yeah, I think, thank you for inquiring about it at least.
Sure.
Because from what I've read, even in this climate, it helps in the summertime. If
Okay,
nothing
yeah.
else, it helps reduce the load of any rooftop air conditioners because there's less surface temperature. So, okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, any other? Yeah, Mike. You have a question?
So well, I just was interested if there's a way we can do an official thank you for all the work they do at the range, for all the volunteers somehow. I know people like to be appreciated for what they do. So I would encourage us to thank them. Now, I guess we have to be careful. We thank one group and don't thank another group somewhere else. Maybe that creates more problems, but they do a lot. And I'd sure like to somehow say thank you.
Sure. I did pass along the appreciation and thanked Duke on behalf of the facilities committee because, you know, every time we've talked about the shooting range, like when I brought up about the garbage service, you like you guys said, it's a small price to pay for what they do as far as volunteers and improvements out there. So I did pass the thanks along and that we do appreciate them. But any type of formal thank you to them, I'm all ears and we can get something going for them.
Yeah, Dave.
Back to your roof. I imagine it's too early to have any idea when they would start on that, but I did hear about the leak right away today. So if you do come up with, you know, after you get the bids in and somebody does give an indication of when they can get started or when they'll be able to get it done, if you'd let me know, I'd appreciate that information, because I imagine if it leaks again, I will also hear about it again. So
I will definitely let you know as soon as I know something.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Mike.
A
Go ahead, Mike.
follow up on what Dave said. Are you putting any stipulations in the bid for a time frame for when they have to start, or do you run the risk of the price going up?
I guess we didn't put any stipulations into the bid as far as when we would start. I guess I'll feel them out tomorrow, see what their timeframes, what their schedules are looking like. My thoughts of getting the bids in were to get on someone's schedule sooner than later so that we know what's going to get done this year.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Scott. Next thing, facilities fleet.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
I met with Jen from Enterprise. Our truck has been delivered at the dealer. She anticipates us getting it probably by the time the dealer checks it over and it's ready for delivery here the first week or so of April. The Malibus are scheduled here in the next week or two to go down the assembly line. So she anticipates probably another 4 to 6 weeks by the time they get built and then get transported, get to the dealer, get set up. So I hopefully am looking mid to later May to get the Malibus, hopefully here in the first week or two of April to get the truck. So that's the update on the facilities fleet. Next item on the list is the monthly financials. Is everybody had a chance to peruse through those? Obviously, with our fraction, the 2/12, so the consumable budget versus what we spent. Scott's kept his spending in check there, so we're looking pretty good right now this early in the year, so that's great. Any questions on the rest of the budget? Then we're down to energy.
Yeah, we do it. Dave, you have a question?
Go ahead.
Not on the budget, but on the vehicles. Are they going to be delivered by local dealers?
Yes. Yep. That's one good thing about Enterprise. They'll deliver them to a dealer your choice, which we always have them delivered to the local dealer, depending on what brand we get. They're whether it's Northtown, now Markwart with the Dodges, or Kai's, they'll deliver them accordingly. So, and then the dealer basically goes through them just like they would with any lot vehicle. And as soon as they give them the green light and get them all checked over, then we just pick them up for delivery like you would with for your personal vehicle.
Right. Thank you.
Yep. And then they typically handle all the service too with the warranty work.
Okay, Tim, you have a question?
Yeah, my question, John, is with the thought of being carbon neutral by 2050 that we're working on, is there anything in your sight lines that would let you start looking towards more energy efficient vehicles? I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, right now, like these Malibus, for the sedans, we're looking for the most economical, most fuel efficient. We've been averaging 45, 46 miles to the gallon. I'm hoping within the next couple of years when we rotate these Malibus out, with how electric vehicles have come in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I'm hoping that by the time we go out to get replacements for these Malibus, that we can look at possibly either a hybrid or an all electric. Right now there's about $5,000 to $6,000 more per vehicle for a hybrid versus what these Malibus are going for. And right now the market, there's high demand on these used Malibus, so we're just about getting our money back on them after three years. So but I'm hoping the way the market's driving and that we're getting the all electric buses over at Transit. So, which means we'll have some chargers installed. We'll be a little bit more familiar with that. We can work on the next couple of years, probably getting charging infrastructure installed over at the government center. So, because right now, if we go all electric, we still need some infrastructure. So I'm hoping that we can go hand in hand, possibly get on track with some more grants. And even if it's 80-20, 20% out of our pocket to get some charging infrastructure for passenger vehicles, that's a huge deal. Because right now you can get the vehicles, but then you got to kind of take in the consideration all the charging equipment too. So it looks very bright. I'm very optimistic here. By the time we switch out this next batch, that we should probably at least get some of them.
Thank you for that update.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, energy. I met with Kent and Austin yesterday. We had a meeting. They are working on an FTA audit right now. It's one that takes place every 5 years. By Friday, that is due, and they will submit that. And we had an initial discussion on the FTA grant for the solar panels over at Transit. So hopefully in the next week or two, we can sit down and draft an RFP and send that out and get some proposals and get rolling on the solar array for Transit. So hopefully by early summer we have an idea where we're headed with that. So
we're putting that together. The last thing I have to touch on kind of for miscellaneous is due to the lesser demands for COVID testing, the guard has pulled away from testing down at the fairgrounds. So we took the porta potties, sent those back to Louis Bjork, kind of tore down where the initial stages of getting the message boards back here to Highway, kind of tearing down some of the signage. If the demand comes back, it won't take us that long to retool and gear back up, but I anticipate due to where the numbers are at that we're all done with the National Guard testing at the fairgrounds. So that concludes my portion of the report.
Okay, any questions? Yeah, Mike.
So the solar that we're doing now, that's all ours, correct? We're not paying no one for that?
That is correct. The feds are paying 80 or 85%, and then we're paying the 15 to 20%. So, but it will be fully owned by the county when it's installed. There's no outside investors. Majority of it is the FTA grant. So it should make transit basically sustainable. And that's our first, I guess our first milestone in going solar is something that we'll own, something that is sustainable. And then I think we can build on from there if this works.
Is there additional grants that could become available for additional buildings? So we don't have to pay out? I mean, so we can own them ourselves?
Yes, I think that's something we should explore. And I know with the FTA, that's just one sector of, they had that offered. And at the time, Dolly submitted for it and we ended up securing that. But I know that's something that we have on the radar at Highway. If there's anything with the feds that they're throwing money around, it's something that I would definitely be interested in exploring Highway. And the same thing is if something is offered for facilities, we definitely can get on board, and we're going to keep our eye open for some free money.
Just for clarification, there is no other grants available at this time, but
That is correct. Yes, but we're keeping an eye out
right.
for if any do come up, as we did with the MLS grant for that section of B on the highway sector. We're going to watch if there's grants available. We'll put them, submit the paperwork for them to try and get whatever money we can secure.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for John? Okay, if not, we'll go to the next item C, Corporation Council Staff Report. We have none. Number D, Environmental Services Department, Accessibility Wisconsin Tract Wheelchair Agreement Update. Bob, what do you got for that?
Let me get myself unmuted here. So
Okay.
actually, I got some very good news. I had a call Monday from the folks over at Rotary, and they met Monday morning, and they are all in as a partner or as a co-host, if we want to call it that. And so they're pretty much going to take on most of the duties and responsibilities. The county's biggest piece out of that is going to be to provide a spot to store it that's secure and a place to plug it in. And so I was working today on finishing up the application to get that out. I'll get it over to Rotary for their review to make sure that they're okay with the language in the application, and then get it off to AAW. So I'm hoping that this time at your next meeting that we will have a determination from AAW that indeed we're going to be getting one of those track machines, and then we'll start, with Rotary and with the county to make sure that we can blow this trumpet and let everybody know, as many people as that we can, that we have this something like this. And then we're going to be looking at maybe expanding our partnership. And one of the one of the groups and I'll be coming back to you guys. One of the groups that we're interested in really having a discussion with is the people at the rifle ranges. Because AEW says that one of the highest times that there is a request to check out these machines is during hunting season, where a person that wasn't able to get out before is able to get out out in the woods or out in the area and do some hunting. So we want to reach out to that group to make sure that, you know, if they have members or know of members, you know, family members that might benefit from this, that, you know, it's going to be available. So, you know, and some of the things that are really interesting about this is that, you know, a person could come in and check it out, and they could take it for a week, and they could take it wherever they want to go. They could go on vacation and take it and go wherever they want. So they could have access to other places. So they're not restricted to only Dunn County for use of this machine. So it's pretty much just getting it, you know, into the hands of those people that need it. And as long as, you know, they're responsible, you know, it's a pretty good program. And you know, if they become irresponsible, you know, we try to get them to pay for it, some of it, but AAW has insurance, and they'll take care of all the major repairs and damage. And so I think it's going to be a very good program, and I'm very hopeful after, you know, in talking with the AAW that we are going to get one of those machines. So I'll update the committee next time.
Okay, yeah, question, Tim?
Question I have is, and it's also a thought as I'm thinking through this. I hope you don't mind if I think out loud.
Nope.
But have you been in contact with IT at all about getting something about this program set up on the county web?
Well, not yet, but AAW has a reservation piece, and I didn't want to get too far with this until I'm sure that we're going to go. But it's up and running in a lot of other places in the state of Wisconsin. So I don't think that, you know, a reservation software is going to cripple us. But yeah, it is on my list of things to do once we're a little more certain to go out and then start working with IT to get this set up, you know, on our system, and then also that Rotary has access, you know, because they'll be monitoring and doing some of the reservations as well. So there are some things to work out here, but I don't think that they are insurmountable. I think there's going to be a lead time from the time that we get notification of award to get the machine, and then there's also some training that has to be done. And so there'll be a couple weeks in there that I'm certain that we can get IT on board and get things up and running.
Well, I guess I wasn't thinking about just the reservation system. I was thinking about getting information about the all-terrain wheelchair out on our county web, so that if people go out and look, they can potentially find something about what this is all about.
We will use our social media and put something on our website. That's very easy to do, and Rotary will do the same, and AAW will also do the same, and then we'll share links so that as people are researching, you know, so if they're looking to AAW and trying to find something, you know, in Wisconsin or around the Dunn County area, ours will come up. And same thing with Rotary. If someone chats with Rotary, we'll all be linked to and sharing these links. So yeah, I think that we'll be up and running, and that we will have make good use of the resources that we have, that Rotary has, you know, their social media platform, and also AAW, what they have. And then we'll rely on just, you know, standard media, you know, newspaper, radio, and maybe we even get the news to come out, and when we get the machine to do a article on it. So getting the word out is huge, and we understand that. And so yeah, we're going to utilize, you know, as many of the resources as we can.
Very good, and thank you, Bob, for all the work that you're doing around this. I think it's a great program.
Oh, I'm really excited. So and I'll be all smiles when we get the award. So.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll go on to the next one. Considerations for actions to be taken by the committee, Dunn County Directional Plan recommendations. Okay,
All
Bob.
right. I did send something in your packet, but it's been since revised a little bit. So if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, if I could share my screen and we'd go over this. And I think it's
Sure.
relevant to a lot of the discussion that you guys have had this evening regarding, you know, carbon neutral and all of those discussions. It's going to be listed or talked about in here. So I just have to get back to share my screen. This is different here. Can you guys see the document?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So if you don't mind, only because, you know, there were some minor changes, and rather than try to just point out the changes in the language, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I could just read it, and then I will stop at what I think are relevant pieces and have the discussion, and then finish the document, if that's okay with the chair and the committee.
Sure, that'd be fine.
All right. So as you know, this is a far-reaching policy, and I was at PRD on Tuesday, and that's the committee that I report to anyway. And the same document was on theirs, and that's where we generated, you know, the policy. But you know, at my meetings with facilities and with highway, it became very apparent that there are some crossovers, and so the policy was written very broad intentionally so that it could cross over between environmental issues, facility issues, and transportation issues, and there's probably other parts of the county that could tie into it, but I think it's broad-based enough that it would allow that to happen. So the policy, Dunn County recognizes that its use of natural resources and its built environment, and we'll call that our environmental footprint, impacts local, regional, and global communities, and that its environmental footprint has intergenerational impacts. Dunn County accepts its responsibility to provide and maintain a clean, safe, and healthy environment for its constituents now and into the future, and is committed to reducing its environmental footprint. Implementation techniques. And so these are things that the county could do, and then there's also going to be a laundry list of things that we're already doing, and from the discussion that I'm having here with you folks, we will be adding some laundry list things to this when we get down to the bottom of some of the things that you're doing. So implementation techniques: use the county board standing committee structure and relevant staff to implement this policy and act as champions to prioritize and implement environmental actions such as meeting or exceeding environmental standards set by local and regional agencies, managing the county's natural resources such as groundwater, surface water, nutrient management, etc., in an environmentally responsible and sustainable manner. C, maintaining and updating key environmental plans and participation in environment-related organizations and efforts, including but not limited to, and I'm not going to go through the list here of the laundry list, but these items, these 17 items are pretty much things that through PR&D and mainly through the land and water conservation, these are the things that they're working on over there that are related to item C. Manage Dunn County's environmental footprint in an environmentally sensitive, and environmentally sustainable, and fiscally responsible manner by, and so these are the things that we're going to do. Adopting and maintaining documents, practices, and principles to protect environmentally sensitive areas. So whenever there's, you know, these first three, it's adopting. These are documents that were under discussion at PR&D. Kind of in the works, but we haven't really pulled the trigger, but we are working towards these. So that's why these three have the word adopting. Adopting and maintaining erosion control documents, principles, practices to manage erosion and sediment. Adopting and maintaining standards, principles, and practices to control and manage stormwater and runoff. Increasing the safe, increasing the use of environmental responsible transportation modes such as public transport, fuel efficient vehicles, cycling, and walking. Now this is where we'll plug in things that we heard tonight, or where you want to go, where you are going. We can plug in those things so that they are listed in this plan, and or we'll provide a link to those so that people can get to those documents. And then some of those documents we're going to create probably an appendix so that a person can find these documents later in time. But so this one applies, specifically to facilities, and it was put in there specifically for facilities, as is reducing fossil fuel use in his vehicle fleet, including the highway department vehicles. You guys were having a great discussion this evening about, okay, well, we're getting new vehicles, but what's the long-term plan? And so your long-term plan fits well with what this environmental policy is talking about. Applying ecological sustainable design principles and renewable energy practices at all county facilities, such as solar projects, geothermal systems at the neighbors and the government center. And so here again, these are items that are specific to work that this committee is already doing. And again, as we get specific projects, we can plug these in so that they become part of the document. Managing the use of energy and utilities such as gas, electricity, and water to achieve a more efficient and sustainable use of available resources. This really came about again from discussions that I heard in terms of some new controls that are going in and able to better control the systems, so that makes a better use of our facilities in terms of bringing our use down, which is going to reduce our footprint. This is for emergency management. Conduct pollution emergency response planning to minimize pollution effects, provided such efforts do not compromise the effectiveness of emergency responses. We have a lot of those responses already in place, but on occasion they need to get reviewed, and there may be new things that come up. And so we want to make sure that we can take care of those, but we don't want to compromise their effectiveness with some of the stuff that may be in here. Use environmentally friendly winter road treatments. I've had a discussion with John Swirsky in terms of where the county is headed and where they're at right now with that type of stuff. And it saves money, and it's also good for the environment. And so those things it's a double whammy, and kudos to the county. So we want to make sure that we're able to talk about that and continue to keep working in that direction. Develop environmental sustainable partners within the wider community to raise awareness, such as climate change, loss of or fragmentation of habitat, responsible waste management practices, etc. This is an item that we're going to edit from discussions with PR&D, and we're going to break out climate change as its own entity, as its own number or its own issue. And I think it makes perfect sense. They were talking about net zero effects, and you guys were talking about carbon neutral. So I think that we can combine or add those things under that heading of climate change, so that we can speak to the things that we're doing, and it also gives some direction where we want to go. Facilitate the collaboration of community organizations, lecturers, researchers, and key speakers regarding integrating sustainability and environmental initiatives into the county's workflow. And then finally, conduct annual reports to the county board regarding progress made towards reducing the county's environmental footprint. So I can leave it on the screen for a few more minutes. I guess I would be interested in comments. I don't think it's very far off from what was in your packet. So I think any comments that you had from what's in your packet are absolutely relevant. I'd also be interested in if there are things that you want either spelled out better or things that aren't on there that you think that we need to include, or if you think, well, this is kind of over the top and we don't need to include some of those things. And so so this PR&D did recommend approval of this and sending it on to executive with that minor edit. And I did explain to PR&D that this still has to pass muster with this group, with this committee, and also with highway. And so there may be some additional minor edits to it. But those edits are more reflective of work that the other two committees are doing, and not necessarily what PR&D is doing. And so it shouldn't really affect or substantially change, their view of this policy. So with that, I'm going to sit and listen and take notes as to comments from the committee.
Okay, I guess I have one question. How are you going to evaluate the plans that you are proposing here to save energy, and what sort of barometer are you going to use to say, okay, as of this date we were here, 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now we are here? How are you going to actually evaluate the effectiveness of this plan?
Yeah, well, it's a policy, and in that policy, there's lots of different plans, and I think those metrics already exist to some degree with the facilities department. You can go back and ask Scott, I'm sure, how much we were spending on electricity last year as opposed to this year, as opposed to 2 years ago, and in the future you'll be able to go back. And so, when you do implement some of these techniques, you should be able to go back and measure to see the impact that it's having. The same with our fleet system. You may not be able to tell how much carbon you're saving, but that, again, from the discussion that we are having, it's carbon neutral. And so you may be able to say, well, by going to hybrids, and then finally going to all electric, if that's the direction that technology takes us, you will be able to look back and say, well, we're spending this much less on fossil fuels, and that's a direct result of the actions that we've taken. And the same thing, with solar applications, with any geothermal applications. I think that when this committee implements those things, that there probably is enough baseline information that you will be able to measure the impact of those processes, and then make a report on an annual basis to the county board that says, given these things, we have reduced our footprint, and how that gets relayed to the county board, I think we'll have to work that out as we go through this. But I honestly believe, and Scott and John can probably vouch for this, that a lot of those metrics already exist for this committee.
Okay, so then this is a general policy document, and then as you would break that out into the individual different areas as far as electricity, gas, whatever, then you would incorporate the metrics to say we spent. Yeah. Okay. Very good. I just wanted to clarify. Okay. Thank you.
For example, on the screen there, number 4, use environmentally friendly road treatments. That's a very easy thing, in my opinion. And John, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy on his end, but I think they have metrics in terms of what they're using and the effectiveness of that. And maybe, and then you could then talk about, less salt and the impact that has both to the environment and just to the budget. And so I think so that's an example of in the policy that says, what we want to do, but the metrics are going to come from actual use, and then you can report that back.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Bob on this document? Yeah, Tim.
Again, I don't know if it's really any comments, but I had sent out the list of things that I was thinking of doing, things that we could do to get to carbon neutral, upgraded insulation windows, things like that. I see them fitting into this policy on different areas that you have out here, Bob. And I mean, most everything that I had brought up there, fits into one of these areas. And I think we could develop a plan to utilize then those plans would then fit into the policies. And as Chuck was mentioning, that once you develop a plan, then you actually have a checklist. You could go building by building and see where we are with the plan and what we can do each year, and keep it to a budget-friendly number rather than trying to do everything all at once.
Yeah, you know, and I had the same kind of thoughts when I listened to your discussion. You know, I didn't want to interrupt and say, you know, hey, you know, and bring this in. But thinking back, you know, 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, when you had these discussions, absolutely, they fit in some category in here. One or two categories. And I think the other key piece that you brought up, and I don't know if I can find it really quickly, but I think that it's important that, you know, item 2, you know, that we manage our environmental footprint, both environmentally, so it's environmentally sustainable, but it has to be fiscally responsible. And so, you know, when we get people saying, well, you know, your policy was that you're going to be blah, blah, blah. And we're saying, well, yeah, we are, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have to be fiscally responsible as well. So thanks for bringing that up, Tim. I think it's important that, yes, it has to also fit in with our budgets.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this document for Bob? Yeah, Don.
I don't have anything specific, but boy, you really covered a lot of territory, and it looks like a really excellent document to me.
Well, thank you. I mean, I don't always talk at meetings. And so when I'm not talking, I am listening and keeping notes. And to be honest, almost all of this stuff, you know, there's some templates out there. So I didn't invent this, but a lot of the language is very specific to things that over the course of the many years that I've been attending these meetings have been items that have been talked about, or things that you actually are working towards. So.
Okay, any other questions? I can't see everybody on my screen, so if anybody does.
I can stop sharing now, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, now I can see everybody. Any other questions?
So it is an action item if there are no more questions, and if there aren't any corrections, amendments, additions, you know, I think it would be, if the committee is comfortable, it would be in order to make a motion to send that on to executive.
Okay.
I so move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Tim moved and Don seconded to move this on to executive. Any further discussion? If
One
not,
other point I would, Mr. Chair, just as, you know, before we get off topic here, and I may have spoke to you about this before, but I would just want to remind you. I don't know. It was, and I haven't followed up on this, but many years ago, with the partners that do work for the committee, they for the county, they're on a schedule where they come to the committee on a regular basis and report what they're doing. Are you still doing that or no?
we haven't been, Scott, because usually in the past, every month there was somebody that came and did a report. I mean, one month it was the Rifle Rangers, and another month it was like the O'Galley Sportsman's Club and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess
I bring this up not to say, well, you need to get back doing that, because I think that those people find their way to you, and it's important that you talk to those people on a regular basis. But I bring it up is that you might want to really consider on an annual basis, you know, just plugging you know, this into an agenda, so that every year on, you know, this meeting, you know, we are going to open this up and then review what we've done, so that you can make a report then to the county board at some point. But so if you make an effort to to say, well, we're going to look at this, every May or whatever it is. It doesn't matter which month, and then as that date starts approaching, staff can start getting stuff together to bring to the committee for a report. You can finalize it, and then I think you will have a pretty decent discussion point report for the county board regarding the environmental footprint.
Okay.
So now I interrupted your motion, but that was so now you can go back and finish up your motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to move this on. Is there any other further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried.
Thank you so much for the time, and I will be in touch. I will be on your next agenda just to follow up with the tracked wheelchair program. But also, I think that I may be reaching out to John to get some of the specifics that we can kind of get them categorized and maybe laundry listed into this policy. So with that, thank you so much. And if it's okay with the chair, I'm going to check out of the meeting.
I do have one question.
Sure.
If you wanted to add anything, you did send out another document as far as for the rec park and stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you do have that one as well.
Yes.
So you have two of them policies, and so I don't have that on my screen. Do we need to share that? It is in your packet.
No, I think it's very self-explanatory. I didn't know if there was any additions or corrections that you wanted to make to that off the top of your head that you remembered.
Well, for me, it's ready to go. It would be if the committee has some changes, additions, corrections, then I would certainly make those. And again, if they're minor, you can make a motion and send that on as well to executive, so that the directional plan portion of it is complete, for this committee.
Right. Does anybody have any comments as far as on the other report that was sent out, or what are your thoughts or wishes or questions? I don't see anybody. Anybody have any questions or comments as far as what he sent out as far as the recreational plan? I think like I say, I think it's very self-explanatory, and it, hits the nail right on the head for now.
Yeah, it pretty much says that we're going to still do it.
Right.
It just doesn't commit to a time yet. So.
Right. It's just basically going to stay as is for now until, yeah. So what are your wishes? Well, I'll make a motion that we move this part on also to the exec for further evaluation.
Second it.
I'll second.
Okay, Don seconded it. So a motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Okay, motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay, now all my agenda items are done. I can leave the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now you can leave the meeting, Bob. Thank you for your input, and look forward to talking with you next.
Good night,
time.
everyone.
Yep, good night.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, next thing, consideration of reports, resolutions, ordinances to the recommendation of the Dunn County Board by Facilities Committee Fair Board appointment. Deb?
And I have to hold off. I got a text message from the person I was, or that we were recommending to hold off. He hasn't talked to his boss yet, and he felt he needed to let his boss know what was happening, because as you all know, we're kind of a working board, and it probably will take a week off of his job duties. So he asked if we hold off until next month. So we're anxious to get him on board, but it's his request, and I don't want to move his name forward and his boss find out about this after or before he's had a chance to talk to them. His boss has been on vacation, so.
Yeah. Okay, we will, our action will be no action at this time, and it will be on next month's agenda then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next meeting date will be April 28th. Does anybody else have any input as far as for the good of the group? Yes,
Oh.
Don.
I have a question. It's usually better, like tonight, if we got something in print that we can talk against or for. So I'd be willing to combine Mike's and Tim's recommendations into, because I've got this thing on Word, and I could send it out to everybody, and then that'd be our talking points next week, if you want me to do that on this resolution.
Okay, I think that'd be great if how does everybody else feel about it? Because yeah, if you could get it sent out, because then if we did have questions or whatever, we can talk.
Yeah,
You know.
it's usually easier to discuss something that's in writing.
Oh,
You
by
know.
far, yeah. Yeah.
So, okay,
So-
I'll do that and I'll send it out sort of a couple weeks ahead of the meeting.
Yeah, Mike, you have a comment?
Well, Don, I would certainly sit down and talk to you if you have any questions or if you want to touch bases on anything and work through some stuff there
Okay.
too, to present something back to the meeting. I'd be more than willing
Yeah.
to do that.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you a call. And then
Thank you.
Tim, I've got your stuff and I'll incorporate what you did too, so,
Great,
And-
thank
and
you. I
maybe I'll-
appreciate that.
okay. Then we got something to discuss next month, so.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. So, okay, so now next question, general question at large. I mean, I do prefer to meet in person. But I guess I would like to have everybody else's input on it because I understand that the convenience of not having to drive down to a facility or whatever, and you can just go into your den or your office or whatever. So I guess one of the things I would like to at next month's meeting is to have a discussion on, do you want to continue Zoom or do you want to go back to the in-person? There are benefits to both. I truly understand that. And or we could have a hybrid, as has been discussed. Those that wanted to come and meet in person could meet, other ones could Zoom in. I don't know, we'll have to, I guess I shouldn't make that statement because I don't know if the technology exists yet to do that. But anyway, something to think about as to what, how would you like to meet in the future? Because there are advantages to both. Mike, you got a comment?
Well, I guess I would like to comment on, I would love to see the opportunity to do a hybrid where if someone wanted to come in on Zoom, they could, and the rest could be in person. And that option across the board for the county as a general, it really seems like a good idea if our IT can swing it. I don't know who we talk to or how we move forward.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
I guess I'll speak to this. I've been talking with Mr. Miller and IT. I mentioned it at executive. I participated in a meeting Monday with CDTC that was in person and a hybrid, and it worked very well. They had a camera that took in. We were sitting at a table tables that were arranged in a square, and the camera was evidently 360 degrees because it seemed like you could see everybody on the camera, and the people that were on Zoom we could also see on the big screen. So it worked very, very well. I know our IT are looking into it. I formally challenged them to look into it at the last executive meeting and to bring back information and suggestions at our next executive meeting. For right now, we could do that, and you just bring your laptop in and log into the Dunn County site and run your laptop through that to have a hybrid. That was one suggestion, but I think we can do better than that. I will tell you, I'm sitting in my truck tonight because my internet in my house, when it rains, doesn't work very well. And I don't know if you noticed, but I got knocked out a couple of times from my truck because my cell phone reception isn't the best here. So I totally understand that it seems like there's always problems with technology, and in-person meetings, I don't know. I just, my own personal feeling is we cannot beat them. I think we have good discussion. I think seeing facial expressions and other things when you're discussing things, people talk with more than just their mouths. Their hands are moving, all sorts of stuff. And we're not seeing that on these. And I think we've lost a lot with these type of meetings. So I don't know, I'll get off my soapbox, but I really think we need to consider going back to what we had. I definitely believe a hybrid is needed though, because there's no reason why, like Mr. Colson, would have to sit here for the whole meeting when he only is going to partake in part of it. I really believe we could use a hybrid. Same with John. If we had a hybrid, he could keep coming as a hybrid, and I believe we need somebody there from staff. But if Scott was there, John probably could do it hybrid. I'll be quiet. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Ron, you got a comment?
Yeah, well, I really can't participate because half the time I can't hear anyone talk. So I wouldn't mind being in person.
Okay. Were you able to hear us talk tonight, or was it only half
Well,
time?
it comes in and it goes out. Comes in, it goes out.
Okay. Yep.
And it's really frustrating. So, but I understand what's going on, but half the time I don't hear Tim talking once in a while, and then once in a while I don't hear Mike talking or Don or you. And then I kind of, what's going on, And so I'd rather be in person.
Okay.
So I can get the full gist of what's really going on. And I'm living in the most terrible place in Dunn County. And I wish I could move, but then I wouldn't be able to participate anymore.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim, you had a comment?
Yeah, I will throw my 2 cents in there. It says, I like in person, but the in person that we've had is you've had to wear masks, so you can't see people's faces. When you're on Zoom, you can actually see people's faces. So plus and minus one way or the other. But my own real comment is that no matter which way we decide to go, I would like to see a meeting notice with a location sent out. If it's in person, just say meeting invite tonight for Dunn County Board.
I didn't hear you, Tim, at that what you would like to see.
I said, to me, it doesn't make a difference one way or the other. I do like in person, but like I said, with the in person, you have to wear a mask, so then you can't see most of their face.
Yeah.
With Zoom, you can see their face, but you can't You can see their face, but there's other things you can't see, like hands. My preference would be to be in person, but either way, I would like to see a meeting notice sent out to let us know what's going on.
Well, yeah, I would hope that happens with the agenda all the time, yes.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, if not, then the next meeting date will be April 28th, and we'll let you know whether it's going to be in person or if it's going to be via Zoom. So thank you for your comments tonight. I think we had a very good evening, a very good discussion. So